Hey there, Scorpio. Welcome to your reading for the week of March 2nd. This week, we are going to jump right in here. You have this dragon, it says strength and wisdom. You have this mystic circle, it says your abilities will be enhanced. So, sure, could be a very intuitive week for you this week, and I would definitely listen to that intuition. Again, I think sometimes, Mercury retrograde starts on February 26th. And so, the entire month of March is basically a retrograde. But what I would say is sometimes I think retrogrades kind of strengthen our intuition or what, our intuition is telling us. So I would definitely be listening to that intuition of yours. In your first row for your current general energies, you have the Five of Swords, the Judgment card, and the Moon. All this is pretty similar, I would say, to what people have been getting this week. It could be like a little bit more of a subdued week where, maybe there isn't like a ton of action for us personally on a personal level. I don't really think that's a bad thing, of course, at the beginning of a Mercury retrograde. You have the Five of Swords, Judgment, and the Moon. The thing about the Five of Swords is that we do have also an eclipse on the 3rd. And so with eclipses, we could be cutting things out. And I definitely think, because we just had that eclipse in Aquarius, that, this one is happening, obviously very quickly after the last one, that we could be being asked to remove something that no longer serves us. You even have the Judgment card. They're being asked to step away from their old life and step into their new life. You have the Ace of Swords, which is about cutting something out. We'll talk about it in a minute. So really, I feel you're just like walking away from something that no longer serves you, and you could be making that decision. Because of the Mercury retrograde, this could be like a final realization is what I feel for you, Scorpio. It's like sometimes I think it takes us a long time to process something that we know we need to remove. And that, if you've been thinking about removing anything from your life for a while, you could finally be choosing to walk away. The thing about the Five of Swords is, we consider it to be a challenging card maybe, but he's walking away the winner. So in a lot of ways, if you are walking away from anything, I'm not getting one thing or the other. It could be anything for you. You're probably walking away the winner. And you do have the Ace of Swords, which kind of reinforces that message. Again, if you didn't have the Ace of Swords here, I probably wouldn't say that you're necessarily walking away the winner. But I do think the Ace of Swords makes it a little bit better. You have the Judgment card. Again, everybody's had the Judgment card this week so far. So it could just be one of those weeks where we are experiencing wake-up calls. That's the other thing about eclipses during retrogrades. During retrogrades, we can gain great clarity or we can get sudden clarity on things that we've been processing for a long time. And, again, you could be getting answers about something that you've been going through or something that you experienced in the past. And it looks to me like this is leading to some sort of victory or even a new life. These people, they're standing in these coffins, but the coffin is their old life. Outside the coffin is their new life, and they are being asked to step into their new life. So I feel a lot of you are, getting a lot of communication here. Could definitely be intuitive because you have that card that says your abilities will be enhanced. And I would listen to those intuitive messages. You have the Moon. I like readings that have the Moon to the Sun. So I don't like readings that go the other way, right? If we went from the Sun to the Moon, that would be different. But going from the Moon to the Sun kind of says that you're entering into a sun period. You're entering into a time of clarity. And again, retrogrades, like everybody thinks they're confusing. And it's like, yeah, sure, they can be confusing. But retrogrades can bring in a ton of clarity based off of, whatever we have been experiencing up until the retrograde. So, again, you could be getting a lot of clarity this week from the past. Again, I get this very like subdued energy here. I don't think it's bad at all, Scorpio. I think it's a good thing. It just feels like again, the best word I can use is subdued, like a subdued energy. It might be a lower energy week for you, but like not in a bad way. More that you're just kind of like resting, relaxing more, or maybe you're just processing, what you're getting or what you're downloading more, and you're spending less time like doing things. And again, I think that there's nothing wrong with that. So, I kind of like that energy for you because, this eclipse is happening in Virgo, which is great for healing. So if any of that processing energy has to do with like healing yourself emotionally or physically or whatever, it could be a really good week to just do that. With the Five of Swords, you have the Nine of Swords. Yeah, you could be ending a cycle, which is good. We have that mystic circle. It's a circle. And the Nine of Swords is my card of Groundhog's Day. So it basically says, this person's had a nightmare, they've woken up and they're stuck in a nightmare. But my problem with the Nine of Swords is that he's not in enough pain to make a change. He's experiencing pain, but it's not enough to make him do something about it. But the good news for you is, again, the Five of Swords and the Ace of Swords. I think you are doing something about a cycle that could be causing pain or could be preventing you from making progress in life. So I feel pretty good about this as well. Here you go. With the Judgment card, you have another cycle card. You have the Wheel of Fortune. Again, cards like this never really surprise me during a Mercury retrograde because, retrogrades can bring things back around. And we can even just be processing a cycle that we've been through. The great thing about the Wheel of Fortune is now we can change it. The Wheel of Fortune says we just have to pay attention to the direction of the wheel, and we need to just get it spinning forward more by taking action, doubling down on the good stuff. I think it would also be a great time for you to focus on any fears that you have. We have the snake here. Snakes are guardians of portals, and snakes represent fears. So, plain and simple, the Wheel of Fortune says if there's something we want that we don't have, there could be some sort of fear that's getting in the way of us having that thing. And so all we have to do is learn about it. Again, I think the easiest way to solve fear is to educate yourself about whatever you're afraid of. Usually we're afraid of something because we just don't know, right? So learning as much as you can would be a good idea. With the moon, you have the Four of Wands. This is good as well. The Four of Wands is kind of like a finish line card. We have this finish line here. These people are celebrating on the other side of the finish line. And again, going to the sun, it definitely makes sense that you could be finishing something or ending a cycle here, which again, I feel pretty good about. Normally, I don't like the Nine of Swords. As far as I'm concerned, it's the worst card in the tarot. Everybody worries about the Tower. I'm like, the Tower's good. The Nine of Swords sucks because again, he's in pain, but he's not doing anything about it. But again, I feel pretty good about it in your reading. Yeah, sure. I'm sure that the Nine of Swords has not been fun for you, Scorpio. I'm sure that the Nine of Swords has been a pain in the butt, but at the same time, it looks to me like you're crossing that finish line. You're finally ending a negative cycle, or you could even be taking more control over your life with the Four of Wands as well. And this could be saying you're about to have a celebration. Next, in the area of what's coming in for you, you have the Spirit World card. It says your spirit guides are sending you helpful people and opportunities your way. So clearly, a very strong spiritual week for you. You have this Aries card. It says take the lead. It says don't wait for others to light the way. It's your time to step up and take the lead. Yes, I definitely feel that's true. I think you've been exploring a lot over the last 2 years or so, Scorpio, exploring your ideas, exploring your interests, things that you think you want to do in your life, all sorts of stuff. And now I think it is time for you to take the lead and to kind of manifest or create the life you want. This is the year where the rubber meets the road, as I've been saying, because we have a lot of major planets changing signs this year. We've already had a bunch of planets changing signs, but we just had Neptune, Saturn. We're about to have Uranus. Jupiter will be leaving Cancer this year as well. So, for you, I think it's about taking the lead. You have the Knight of Wands, the Seven of Pentacles, and the King of Cups. Knight of Wands is about spontaneous energy, charging forward in a direction. He needs to embrace mystery as well. He has these 3 pyramids behind him, and those 3 pyramids, they represent a mystery, but he has to explore mystery. I think for you specifically, this card will always talk about mystery. You are Scorpio. Scorpio is mystery. Scorpio loves mysteries. So if there's anything you don't know, I would be exploring those ideas or those topics this week. And I would say really probably the entire month of March, because again, we have a Mercury retrograde. Mercury retrograde is great for getting to the bottom of something. I think retrogrades are very helpful. Some of the best months in my life have been retrograde months, so, I always work with the energy, and I think Mercury retrograde gets a bad rap. It's everybody is always so worried about it, but I'm like, it's a good thing. Good things can happen during retrograde, so make sure that something good happens this retrograde, and, go explore a mystery, because, it's a good time to learn. You have the Seven of Pentacles, a lot of Seven of Pentacles at this time as well. I think there's a lot going on with the Seven of Pentacles that makes a lot of sense to me. Seven of Pentacles is my card that says, is the juice worth the squeeze, right? We are definitely in a time where I think people are going to be looking at where their energy goes and saying, like, is it worth it or not, right? And I don't know. I can't answer that question for you. Only you can answer the question on, like, what's worth it to you and what's not worth it to you. And, like, also value is something that came up for all three water signs. I think collectively, the entire world, we are going to see a lot of things about value. And, we already have been seeing it. People have been saying they're going to not pay taxes, right? Because they feel like they're not getting what they pay for, basically. We're going to see a lot more of that as we move forward over the next couple of years at least. So, again, I'm not saying that's what it's going to be. And of course, I'm not encouraging you to do that. I would never do that, right? I love the government. I support the government. I would never break any of those rules, right? But so there you go, government, right? I am on your side. Don't come at me, government. But what I would say here is, again, we're going to see a lot of that stuff. And, I think on a personal level, we need to look at where we're investing our energy, and we need to say, like, okay, this thing's worth it, this thing isn't. And we need to cut the things out that aren't worth it. You have the King of Cups. I've been feeling love for you for like a couple weeks, Scorpio. I do feel a little bit of love here. It's not really a love reading, but I do think this could be a person for those of you that are looking. There could be like another water sign, could be any sign, general reading. The King of Cups is also your emotions. Again, I do think the first few weeks here, or a couple weeks maybe of March, are going to be a little bit more like on the emotional side, but not like bad. I think we're just processing how we feel about things, and that's it, which is fine. With the Knight of Wands, you have the Four of Swords. Four of Swords is my Mercury retrograde card, so Four of Swords is, all the good things to do during a retrograde: rest, relax, recover, heal, pray, meditate, pray, ask for blessings. There's a person here blessing another person. So all those things are good. The Knight of Wands, like I said, could be more of a mental adventure where you're learning about a mystery or something that has been a mystery to you and you're getting to the bottom of it. And again, the Four of Swords could be like more mental. With the Seven of Pentacles, here you go. You have the Lovers. Some of you could be deciding whether or not love is worth it to you or not. You could finally be coming to that conclusion. So, again, it's like maybe some of you aren't sure. Maybe some of you are like, do I want someone or not? And you could be weighing those options. But like I said, could be something that's very much worth it with the King of Pentacles, or King of Cups, sorry. So if you're looking for love, I would go for it. With the King of Cups, you have the Strength card. Yeah, it could be a strong person. It could be a little bit of an unshakable person. I always say the King of Cups, I look at tarot as a spectrum. I think on the negative side, he can be like overly emotional and very shakeable. On the positive side of things, he can be in control of his emotions and unshakable, basically. So, you could be attracting a person who's like very stable, and that's popping into my head. I also think you could be working on your own stability. The Strength card, she is taming this lion. She is the one that's in control of her inner voice. And so with the Strength card, we want to make sure that we are speaking to ourselves and making ourselves feel stronger, better, healthy, whatever. And doing that will be good. Next, in the area of messages from your future self, you have this Viewpoints card and this blank card that says unexpected and unknown. So we are in a time of viewpoints, for sure, or new perspectives. Uranus is about to enter into Gemini in April, which is probably, one of the biggest things that's happening for us this year. There's a lot of big stuff. Jupiter's changing signs. Neptune and Saturn just moved into Aries. But Uranus and Gemini is a little bit extra powerful because Uranus loves Gemini. Uranus is the higher octave of Mercury. Mercury rules Gemini. So as far as I'm concerned, it's the most powerful thing that's happening this year, one of. And, again, I think the trick is going to be looking at all the perspectives. Uranus and Gemini is like seeing something from every single point in space that you possibly can. And so being open to all perspectives in life, or, but even smaller than that, like if you're working on something and what you're trying doesn't work, trying just something different. It can be that simple with Uranus and Gemini. You have the Eight of Pentacles, the Ace of Swords, the Sun, and the Queen of Swords. These two wanted to come out together, which is good. The Eight of Pentacles is straightforward, diligent work. It's material success on the horizon. So whatever you're doing for work here, Scorpio, could really be paying off for you. I definitely feel like you're cutting something out this week. The Ace of Swords cuts both ways. And so the Ace of Swords can be a victory. It can also represent overcoming an obstacle because the sword is above the mountains. But usually we have to cut something out or sacrifice something. We have this palm frond on this side, and we have an olive branch on the other side. The palm fronds in the tarot represent making a sacrifice. The olive branch is like an offer of peace or abundance. So, again, it looks to me like you are cutting something out that just isn't worth it, and you're probably more focused on things that are. You have the sun. The sun makes the whole entire reading more positive, so, there could be a lot more positive energy coming in for you. Could say the sun is shining on you this week. Like I said, I love that you go from the moon to the sun. Definitely says that you're entering into a sun period. Again, moon periods can be confusing, fearful. We just don't see things clearly. So, again, this retrograde could actually be really good for you. Could be bringing you in a lot of clarity. And the very first week here, you could be feeling that clarity. The sun also wants you to make life easier. And again, you fixed signs always get this message of like needing to lighten the load, right? I mean, for basically all of 2025, you were getting the 10 of Wands with me, Scorpio. So, the sun is very similar. The sun wants us to do things that make life easier. And if there are things that are causing friction or slowing you down, I would be looking at those things and saying, like, can I eliminate these things? Can I make them easier? Can I make them smoother? Can I make them better? And again, only you can answer that question. You have the Queen of Swords, clarity. Queen of Swords only has clouds halfway up her body, and so she is seeing into the future more clearly, and I feel a lot of you could be getting a lot of clarity on the future with the Queen of Swords, which is great. You could also just be more open to receiving as well. She has her hand out, but she has her sword up, so she's willing to receive something, but if it isn't right, she cuts it out very quickly. I think I've said to you before, Scorpio, that 2026, I think for you, is going to be a good year. It's a good year to hire slow, fire fast, as they say, right? But maybe you're not literally hiring someone. This is like anything. I would actually change it a little bit because I think because of all the energy in Aries, it's like we need to say yes to things quickly. But I also think that if those things end up not being right, we shouldn't wait to find out. If we start something and it doesn't feel right, we should get rid of it and then move on to the next thing. And so I think having that attitude would be very good. Again, I think we all spend too much time in things that we know aren't right? And so Queen of Swords says, cut those things out fast. With the Eight of Pentacles and the Ace of Swords, you have the Queen of Pentacles. Queen of Pentacles is definitely increasing your resources, so you could be making more money or doing something to make more money at this time, which is great. I would say that focusing on being resourceful, of course, is a good thing. I think that we should be looking for resources this year. Again, I think I said in your 2026 reading, it's a great year to find some sort of activity that recharges your batteries as well. So like for me, if I don't go for a walk every day, I feel tired, right? It's like activity, walking actually makes me feel more energetic, right? So it's like that is my activity to recharge my batteries. And I think everyone, especially you, should be finding something that gives you a resource, right? Could be time, could be energy, could be whatever. But I would pick something and make it happen. With the sun, here you go. You have the Queen of Swords. Again, this reading is pretty simple. I mean, you could just be getting clear on what needs to be removed from your life this week, right? Especially with the sun and the Queen of Swords twice, that's a lot of clarity. So is the Ace of Swords. So I feel like you're just getting clear. With the Queen of Swords, you have the Five of Pentacles. Five of Pentacles like feeling left out in the cold, but we have the Strength card right next to it. So the Five of Pentacles has a very easy solution. And the solution to the Five of Pentacles is to not call attention to your weaknesses. Five of Pentacles wants us to focus on our strengths, and that's what I would do with that card. Next, in the area of the good stuff, you have this Imagine card and this Chop Wood card. Yeah, like it could be time to get working on your imagination. On that Imagine card, there's like a girl. She's pulling down the moon down to Earth. And so she is bringing her dream down to Earth. I think, again, you fixed signs get this message all the time, that it's like time to bring a dream down to Earth. You have the Three of Swords, the Hangman, and the Nine of Pentacles. Again, we have this eclipse on the 3rd, so again, I think the eclipse is amazing for, this eclipse in Virgo is amazing for healing, for doing any healing that you want, emotional, physical, whatever, it doesn't really matter. Three of Swords and the good stuff is forgiveness, so those 3 swords are in your heart. And we have to pull those swords out of our heart by forgiving the past. And again, Mercury retrograde is also great for forgiving the past. I always say you don't have to forgive a person directly. If it's a person, you just have to forgive them in your heart, and then you can heal. So I would definitely take some time. I would say the entire month is great for healing. You have the Hangman. Again, millions of new perspectives coming in, especially when we get to April. But again, we could be feeling this now. Uranus has already been in Gemini once, retrograded out. Now it's going to move forward next month in April. So I think that, we could be seeing things from different perspectives, and those unique perspectives are what's going to make us successful. But, this goes for all areas of life. Like anything, any new inspirations that you're feeling, you should be moving towards those things because they're probably going to move you forward. I also do feel this is kind of like an unstuck reading. He has put himself on pause on the Hangman. He's done this to gain enlightenment, but you go from the moon to the sun. The sun is enlightenment. So, like I said, it's kind of like you're finally getting the answers you need. You have the Nine of Pentacles. Nine of Pentacles, like gratitude, luxuries, abundance. So a lot of you could be creating a lot of that. All 3 water signs had the Nine of Pentacles this week. I don't know why that's funny, but it is funny to me. And, maybe water signs are just like more independent this week, or, water signs could be more focused on creating more independence. Which I think is good for water signs. Again, Saturn in Aries, I think, can be something that requires us to be more independent because, obviously we have to be more responsible with Saturn. But with Saturn in Aries, it's kind of like we have to be responsible for every action we take. So, it's like your actions that you are responsible for could be ones that create more abundance with the Nine of Pentacles, which is good. Let's clarify this here, Scorpio. With the Three of Swords, you have the Eight of Wands. I mean, this could be like an apology. I always tell people to be careful of apologies during Mercury retrograde. Like, I think it's fine to say, like, okay, if anyone, it doesn't even have to be love. It could just be a person in general who's apologizing here. Ace of Swords, Eight of Wands, Three of Swords. I think it's okay to say, like, thank you, I forgive you, and then move on, right? So, but that doesn't mean you have to, like, allow that person, if a person hurt you, back into your life, right? So I would definitely pay attention to that. Eight of Wands is a good card, though. It's one of my favorite cards in the tarot. It's quick success or quick conclusion. So again, there could be like a quick conclusion here. With the Hangman, you have the World, which is good. The World is an accomplishment or an achievement. And it's also the end. In the major arcana, we go from the Fool to the World, and then we start all over again as the Fool. So this could be like a new beginning that you're going to be, working on. I always say the World is kind of like a birth. This lady is birthing her new world, and a lot of you could be entering into a new world. With the Nine of Pentacles, you have the Knight of Swords. Knight of Swords can be like rushing, being too hasty, moving too quickly. But the Knight of Swords is coming up in the good stuff. So this could be like abundance that's rushing into your life. Could be you rushing towards something that is very abundant as well. Next, you have this Flowers card. It says happiness on it. Again, with the Queen of Pentacles, happiness could be a resource that you can create. I would definitely do something that makes you happy. As a matter of fact, I'm pretty sure I said that to everyone in the 2026 readings. Like doing a hobby or, having something that you do on purpose that brings you joy. I think we need a lot more of that in the world. And, the energy is too serious. Saturn, especially in Aries, I think is too serious. So we need to make sure we're also, filling in the other side of that and having more fun. You have this Dragon card that says, beware of self-delusion. I think this is like Neptune and Pisces energy that's kind of hanging around. Neptune is obviously in Aries now, but Neptune moves very slowly, so it's only at the beginning still. And so Neptune and Pisces is delusional. But the trick with this energy is it's only delusional if you're living it in your head and you're not taking action. So we have this Imagine card, and so you definitely, since we had Neptune and Pisces, You could be imagining Neptune and Pisces is the impossible dream. We all have some sort of big ass dream that feels impossible with Neptune and Pisces. And again, it's only delusional if you're not taking the steps. But you don't have to take big steps. You can just try it a little bit. And as long as you do that, then you're not delusional. You have this casket. It says someone going out of your life or the end of a situation. Again, this eclipse. I mean, I think everybody is probably going to get the Judgment card like you have. And I think that we all could be, cutting something out. It doesn't even have to be a person. Could be anything. You have this older man. It says dealings or relationships with an older man. You have this boat. It says money or property through an inheritance, winning, or windfall. So there you go. Could be an inheritance for some of you. I also just think that this could be you. A lot of your readings, I'll say this, Scorpio, a lot of your readings have talked about taking something from the past and revitalizing it and making money off of it. You have the Eight of Pentacles, which is one of those cards. Eight of Pentacles is like work you've already done. It can represent material success on the horizon, getting paid for work you've done. So any of you who have like old projects that you're finishing up, could be pretty good. You have this tankard. It says celebration, fun, and enjoyment. Yes, more fun is going to be good for you, Scorpio. I think I called you Aries. Sorry if I did. But anyway, this looks really good. So thank you for being here. Make sure to leave a comment, and definitely enjoy your month.